Hey everybody, did you know you could go to colinmullen.com in order to get art and art prints? That's why I've set up the website. You can get prints there and also originals, and for the next little bit of this year, you'll be able to get those originals at a little bit of a discount because I'm moving and I don't want to actually move them with me. colinmullen.com, just hit me up. So, real quick before we get into today's subject matter, I want to talk about this painting a bit because it's always good to do so. So, this painting is of a bust of Nero from Rome. He was famous for basically ignoring every duty that he had to serve his people and instead just went off and did his hobbies and famously let the entire nation burn, essentially. I really like the way the colors came out on it. I think it came out cool. I'd really like to continue with this color palette some, maybe mess around with it a bit, but it's definitely doing something for me. And I'm really enjoying this angle. I liked switching it up rather than doing just the red, yellow, blue thing that I do that I know is going to work, and kind of do the same thing, but just subtract out the yellow and make everything a bit more muted. It still allows me to get that huge pop in color, but also allows me to have a little bit more of a realistic thing going on while still being fairly abstract and fairly expressive. Really cool. I like it. I'm going to keep messing with it. Might try some other color combinations kind of in that range, but we'll see. Anyway, let's talk about today's thing. So when I was painting this, I did it on Twitch, and that was a really cool experience to be able to talk to people about art and about my stuff. It was super awesome. I'm probably going to keep doing that to some degree, especially on weeks when an Artcade video is due. But regardless, I was telling them like, hey, I have no idea what I'm talking about this week. Mainly just due to the fact that like I feel like I've talked about a lot of things. So if you guys have recommendations on things that you want me to talk about, post them in the comments. That's not me trying to like drum up extra SEO or whatever for these videos. Like, I just want to be helpful. I want to know about what kind of things y'all want to know about. Anyway, Natalie, one of my Twitch mods, recommended that I talk about critique, both giving and receiving it. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of two sides of the same coin. So we can talk about it sort of in the same video, and I think it's fine, though it could very easily be elaborated upon. So one thing that I remember from art school is, especially in the first like year or two of class, we'd have this thing where we'd all do a project and then we'd, have our display day. And we'd all put our art out in front of everyone, and then people would, all be sitting looking at one piece, and then we'd give critiques of it. And some people were just jerks. And it was just, they had a personal vendetta against someone, and it was just bloodthirsty, useless critique. It wasn't about trying to give any sort of semblance of actually helpful information. It was just like, this sucks. This just sucks. I hate this. Everything about this is the worst thing that I've ever seen. I'm being a little bit dramatic, but like literally no actual functional information to go off of. And so first couple of tips there, you should be approaching critique with a level of intellectual honesty, that you are trying to improve that person. That person has asked you for critique. That is a huge one that people seem to forget on the internet, that sometimes people just don't want your critique. They didn't ask for it, so don't give it to them. Don't. It's really annoying, especially when, two, you don't know what you're talking about, and or you're just doing it in order to bring them down. It's not about trying to help them, it's just about trying to hurt them. And especially on the internet, I feel like that's a thing. That being said, sometimes you can use even the most vitriolic critiques to some degree of helpfulness, but you personally, person I'm talking to in this video, don't do that. You're better than that. You don't need to bring someone down like that. Like, give legitimate critiques or don't at all, because it doesn't help. It doesn't make the world a better place. The idea of critiquing someone's art is to make their art better. And if you hate that person, you don't want that. You don't want them to be better. So don't try and give them critique. Just leave them alone. What is your problem? Anyway, assuming that you want to give legitimate critique, you need to be thinking about it as, what are the functional elements of this that make a painting good and or bad? Things like color composition, like how do these colors work together? Do they work together? Are they, tertiary colors? Are they secondary colors? Do the colors not match at all? Do you feel like that this lighting in this one area should be a different color based on what, the light source is? Hey, you've painted it with a white light, but the light in the rest of the room appears to be blue. Is that an intentional choice, or what's going on there? Composition, where are the people or the things in the piece? Does it have a interesting way that the eye is drawn around the image? Are you drawn to look from one edge to the other and vice versa? Or do you just kind of like stagnate in this weird nothing area of the painting and you don't bother to check the actual parts that are important? Is the messaging off? Like, you're trying to say one thing, but it's like, dude, what? Here's an example of this, and it's a critique that I still remember today and may be valid to this painting here. I did a painting a little while back called You Only Have the Right to Remain Silent. And in the picture, if you go to colinmullen.com, I'll probably put it up on screen. But in the painting, it's got a cop, and he's pulling out a baton to beat the person that is, viewing it. A friend suggested that made the cop look like a good guy in this one. Just because of the color composition that I used, it seemed to insist that he was a good guy in this, which was obviously not what I was going for, and obviously not a good thing in my eyes. This is the kind of thing that, like, that is a good critique. The person who was viewing it got the wrong feeling off of it, and I can see how they would get that. And in the future, I need to make sure that I don't use, certain color combinations, and I don't align my images in certain ways in order to give off opinions that are not the ones that I'm trying to give off. It's very easy to do that. This one, you could even say that I'm trying to praise Nero in this one, which is clearly not the case, but, you could say that I was. I think that there would be a legitimate criticism of this piece that I'm showing you right now, that it looks like he's noble or something. I could see how you would say that. In short, criticism comes from pointing out elements of a piece on how they could be improved, and that usually involves a decent level of understanding of how does painting work, how does art work, I guess, depending on what media it is, and the willingness of both people to be upfront and honest that they want the person who is doing the art to improve. And the person accepting your critique needs to realize that in the ideal circumstance that you have asked for a critique and the person is giving critique, that they don't mean it as a personal attack on you. It's very easy to take criticisms of your art as a personal attack because this is your soul on trial in a lot of ways, especially when like you have high stakes situations like studio shows, or you have a gallery show you're working towards, or you're doing stuff for a class and you're expected to come up with an idea yourself, or you're doing art that is personal to you. It feels like an attack on you because you've bared your soul, and this person is like, yeah, but his nose is a little weird, isn't it? Like, I can't tell exactly what's off, but like it's like too big or too long or something. You're just like, well, screw you, man. But that's not the way you need to take it. They don't mean it as an attack on you. And as an aside, I think his nose is a little bit long. It's like it needs to be more bulbous. I don't know. I've just been thinking about that. Anyway, not relevant. My point is that giving and receiving critique should be on that level, and hopefully the next painting you do, the nose looks better and no one thinks that you're trying to support things you're not, and so on and so forth. Hopefully this was helpful. If you feel like that there are bits of this that I need to elaborate more on, let me know. I feel like one of the prerequisites of having this video exist is me putting out more videos on just art theory stuff. I've talked about art theory in the past. I'm going to probably link off to those at the end of the video. But for right now, why don't we thank the people on Patreon who are making this thing happen? If you want to join them, you just go to patreon.com/RevScarecrow. Link is in the description. And I thank everyone who is at the $5 or more tier. You can get access to the Discord where you can talk to me and a bunch of other people and post memes and know about when I'm streaming and stuff like that. Anyway, let me thank the people, starting at Wapfu. Thank you, Wapfu. Thank you, Top Houndor. Thank you, Tina Kill. Thank you, Targo. Thank you, Spiral. Thank you, Spencer Kane. Thank you, Punkster. Thank you, Flenixia Theoran. Thank you, Orthogonal Caster. Thank you, Mortibus. Thank you, Micah. Thank you, Maliciousness. Thank you, Lost Nevada. Thank you, Kayla Hollinger. Thank you, Holgen. Thank you, Duxu. Thank you, Dragon. Thank you, Demetrius Galiz. I butchered your name. I'm very sorry. Please correct me on how to pronounce that correctly. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Chiptune Glitch. Thank you, Bubba Fair. Thank you, Bep. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Ants! Every other week, my neighbors must think I'm insane. They're just like, dude, just get a pest inspector. I'm like, what is your problem? I'm like, why every week? Why? Anyway, if you enjoyed this, let me know, subscribe, all that jazz, and let me know what you want me to talk about in the future. It would super duper help, and you can join those people on Patreon if you feel so inclined. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.